How do you create a relationship that stands the test of time? Hi there, men's dating coach Harry Wilmington here, founder of introvertdatingsuccess.com, and today I'm going to give you 10 keys to having a happy and healthy long-term relationship. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon to be notified of new videos. Also, go to the website to watch my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps Without Using Sleazy Pickup Lines. And now, let's check out that clip. Let's get into these 10 things that better your chances for a relationship that lasts long term. So the first one is good communication skills. And this boils down to knowing both when and when not to talk. But specifically, good communication, knowing the other person's love language. We talked about that in the previous show about the 5 love languages, but knowing that the other love language, knowing how they best communicate, being able to like sit down with the person and talk about your grievances versus just constantly wanting to yell at them and scream or whatever. Having good communications, good communication skills is a very, very good trait to have on both ends, because what you don't want to do is you study up on how to communicate and you have the communication skills and then you get with somebody that doesn't have those skills. Because what will happen is you'll want to sit down and calmly talk about stuff and be rational and actually be willing to hear the other person out. And then when it's your turn to discuss your side of things, that person's going to be yelling and not wanting to hear you and causing a hissy fit and crying. And if you both haven't studied communication skills, then inevitably one of these sides is going to get tired. Or if you're both bad at communication, you're going to be yelling constantly nonstop, going to be a lot of haywire crying and throwing things, and that's going to lead to the breakdown of a relationship as well. So you want to be able to kind of really figure out what your guys' communication style is going to be when things arise that are both positive and when, you have hard things to talk about. Those things can also be talked about in a civil manner. And then also this good communication boils down to, again, knowing when not to talk to a person. If a person's saying, hey, this is kind of a strong topic and I need some time, just kind of think about it or whatever, you trying to rush in to keep talking about it is bad communication also. So you got to really know your partner. You got to know how they function. You got to know in terms of communication, how to deliver certain things to them in a way, because you could tell somebody bad news, but you could say like, hey, I got some bad news. We got to sell the house. Versus, hey, we got to sell the house. We're going to do it tomorrow and whatever. And like being all strong about it, they might not be able to take it in that way. So you just got to kind of really study your partner and understand how to communicate. And then that's going to help you guys ideally have the relationship last longer. So that's the first thing. Second thing is self-control. And I'm speaking particularly to you guys. I would hope, being an introvert, you have had time to be alone with yourself enough to be able to relax and chill and know how to have good communication and know not how to fly off the handle. But the reality is a lot of guys out there aren't good at that. And they go to women and they think, oh, women are just emotional and they're irrational, not realizing that by them not having self-control, they're the ones that are being overly emotional and irrational, or, their woman comes to them to tell them something that shouldn't be a big deal and they want to fly off the handle, or a girl be like, hey, I'm going to go hang with my girlfriends, and you want to be like, why can you do that? You're just going to try to cheat on me, and you want to yell, and none of that is showing that you have self-control. And in order for something to last long term, you as the guy should be the rock. You as the guy should be the one that, if there's a storm happening, you kind of have the calm, cool, collected head to be able to be like, okay, let's figure this out. Or if she has an emotional issue she's going through, you're the one that should be able to be like, hey, you got an issue, let's just kind of talk this out and figure out where you can go with this, and we can figure out how to like spread these emotions out so that they're in a more calm manner. So the two of you should not be having problems with self-control. You have time to practice this, okay? So, and yes, there are going to be times where women will come to you with weird questions, or they'll be all up in their emotions and feelings about stuff, and you want to be like, what are you doing? You need to calm down. This isn't it. And you can't be that guy. I mean, you can be that guy, but then you're going to probably not be in a long-term relationship, because for something long-term to last, ideally, you're going to be the one that's going to be able to kind of like rein things in. And if a woman cannot trust you to be the calm she can go to when things are going haywire, then that makes her feel less safe and secure, and she's probably going to go for somebody else that is able to do that. So that's the second thing. The third thing to do is be open to reinvention. And that means not letting things get stale or monogamous. The woman that you get with now and how she is 5 years from now is probably going to be a different person. And women are great at being able to be adaptable to change. Men We typically like things that we could be liking somebody. I told somebody the other day, like, I've been a Nintendo fan since age 5. And to this day, I'm 38 and I still only buy Nintendo. Like, I trust the system. They have reliable games, and darn these other systems out there, Nintendo it is. And I can be on that till I die, okay? And so, but what happens in a relationship is you can't be just stagnant. You can't be like, well, I like to come home and drink a beer and sit in a chair, and this is just how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And not realize that, you have a partner here that's going to want to experience new things, or might want to say, hey, every Tuesday you come home and do this. Can we try something new instead? If you're not willing to be open to the idea of reinventing yourself in certain areas or trying new things, then it's going to be very easy for her to become bored with you. And women, over time, don't like men that are boring and predictable, because that's not fun for them. They still want to have a level of fun, and for fun for them partially means not always knowing what to expect. So if she knows 5 years in, this is how he is all the time, this is what he likes, we do the same date, we go to the same restaurant every time, that is not going to lead itself to an exciting relationship that she can stay in. Now, that's not to say that there's not areas that she should be able to trust you in to be regularly the same. Ideally, you're only hooking up with her. Ideally, you want to live in the same place with her and take care of the same kids. But there are things you can switch up that are going to still keep dynamics of the relationship exciting. Number 4 thing that betters your chances, sexual attraction and chemistry. You should ideally both be attracted to each other, and you should be continuing to try to do things that are going to not up the game, but like keep it exciting. Whether it's bringing things into the bedroom, whether it's doing it in certain different places outside the bedroom, or trying to figure out new and exciting positions you can do. But you want to keep those things open, and then you want to make sure the chemistry is there, which means, figuring out what her likes are and being willing to try some of these things. Those kind of things, it shows her that you're trying, it shows her that you find her desirable, and it makes her want to give that back to you in a perfect scenario. So yeah, making sure you guys keep that sexual attraction going and keeping that chemistry, making sure that whatever your guys feel is a good amount of regular sex to have, that you're able to do that. Even beyond, I know when you start having kids and stuff like that, it can be very hard to plan those things. And I think it's more so on the woman's side, where a lot of times women will start to feel like, I feel more like a mother and less like a sexual being, so I can't do this thing. And that's something that you have to work through. But ideally, even as a guy, you might start thinking, I got to work more, I got to bring more money in. And in the process of focusing more on that, you stop really taking care of her needs. And you don't want to fall into that trap, because she's still going to have sexual desire for you. And if you're not fulfilling that, maybe the pool boy will, but you probably don't want that to happen. The 5th thing here is being open to personal growth. And this goes back to reinvention earlier, but it goes beyond that. Occasionally your partner's going to come to you and say, hey, I noticed you've been this way, and I think things need to change. I think that we need to be more mature about this thing. Or, she might be a person that's like, hey, I want to start my own business. I'd love for you to join me on this journey to try to figure out this business stuff and just kind of get your skills up. And so there's nothing wrong with being open to suggestions of things that you could do to better yourself. And some guys don't like doing that because it hits at their ego. Like, it makes it feel like their partner's saying, you're not good enough as you are now, or how dare you be the way you are, I need you to change. And we can be very, very bad at that, at hearing that kind of thing, where it's like, oh, you want me to change? What? But this is how I am, and you don't like me now. And it's like, dude, she's growing, you gotta grow. So make it a point to, look at things like, hey, like, for example, right now in my life, I've been filming stuff and I've been recording stuff for years, and just in this past couple of months between doing this show and other things, I've had to upgrade my equipment, which means I've had to learn new equipment. I've had to learn how to connect all these wires and things. I've had to learn how to use streaming, and I'm 38. I can be totally cool learning none of that. But I know in order to evolve just in my work life that I gotta be with the times and I gotta upgrade. That's my work life. So you can be darn sure that in a relationship, I'm like, okay, we're on this thing, but what could we be doing? How could we be growing together? What things could we be doing together to grow as a couple? What things do you need from me in your growth journey that I can help with? And then when I'm in my journey, what can you help me with? It's a thing that as a coupledom, the person you're with is going to ideally be very, very happy that they're seeing that you are open to the idea of growing with them versus just being stagnant while they're growing past you. And you don't want your partner to grow so far past you that she now thinks you're no longer worth her time to be with. 6th thing is dedication. And this is very, very important, because I think both men and women have bought into this lie that love and caring for somebody and a marriage is all about lovey-dovey feelings and butterflies, and it lasts like that all the time. And the reality is, love is a choice. Yes, there are butterflies in the beginning, and yes, there are things you're going to feel for them, but love is also this choice to say, you know what, I made a commitment to this person, and when I wake up every day, I am choosing them. And that relies on dedication. You have to be dedicated to this person that you're with, to the idea of being with them, to the idea of growing with them. And when things start to get a little rocky, that dedication is going to make you think, okay, you know what? Even though this is a rocky time right now, I made a commitment, she made a commitment, and we both ultimately want to stay in this thing. So let me go back in there and give it another try. And so many people, they get in a relationship, they're with somebody for like 3 or 4 years, and then like 1 or 2 things happen that would mostly be either minuscule or they would be able to get by it if it was just talked about. And they're like, well, this one thing happened, I'm out. Or, oh, I'm not happy today, so I'm out. Like, you were happy the other days, but there's one day you get unhappy and all of a sudden it's like this other person just isn't there anymore. And so you really need to start thinking about when you get with somebody, are you dedicated to actually making that situation work? And if not, that's fine. You need to not be with them, but you need to have a strong enough feeling for a person where you're like, I feel so strongly for them, I'm willing to dedicate my time and efforts to be able to spend with them. And as an introvert, you don't want to dedicate yourself to the wrong person because that's going to be annoying. Having to put out energy to somebody that you know down the line is like not going to be the person you want to get with, like don't even waste your time. It's not worth the effort and it's not worth your energy. All right. So that's the 6th thing. Number 7 is expressing gratitude and showing affection. And I say this specifically for long-term relationships because it's very, very easy in the beginning to do all these things as a means of being able to get the person. Oh, I'm going to thank them for taking me out, or I'm going to thank her for being able to spend time with me, or I'm going to whatever this and that, or I'm going to show her all this affection in the bedroom, or I'm going to give her, hold her hand on walks or give her hugs and whatnot. And it's very easy to do that early on in the beginning when things are all lovey-dovey and, your butterflies are churning. But what about 5 or 10 years from now? Are you going to be able to express the gratitude that the other person needs to hear or feel from you to make them want to continue it on? Are you going to be able to still do those occasional, you walk to the kitchen and you just hug them for no reason, or you kiss them on the cheek here and there while they're taking care of the kids? Like, people don't think about these things. People don't think about the little day-to-day expressions of gratitude and affection that people legit need to feel in order to still feel connected to a person. And it starts off very simply where you're not doing that, and then as it goes along, it can be like 2 years and you realize, oh, I haven't really initiated sex in 2 years. I haven't really touched this person or really expressed how much they mean to my life in a while. And especially with women, they need to hear that and feel that to recognize that you actually recognize the effort that they're putting forth to be with you. And couples that express these things typically tend to last longer because it's just constantly putting good feelings back and forth. You're saying nice stuff to her, she's doing nice things for you, you're doing affectionate stuff for her, and vice versa. And as long as that's constantly going back and forth and the ball doesn't drop, then you're going to typically be able to make that last longer versus when you guys drop the ball, it can be harder each time for that other person to pick the ball back up because they feel like they're the ones that are constantly putting it out there without getting it back. So just be mindful of that, guys, all right? Number 8 is being empathetic. That doesn't mean you have to necessarily have gone through what they've gone through or feel the things that they feel, but it does mean trying to understand where your partner is coming from. And guys are admittedly, subconsciously, notoriously bad at that because a woman will come to us with, let's say she has a grievance of with hers, she'll say I just feel some kind of way about you not taking me, we haven't gone on a date night in the last 3 weekends and I'm just kind of worried this and that. So rather than hearing that and being like, okay, where's she coming from? She feels lonely, she feels not heard, we haven't connected the way we want to. Guys will typically try to push back and go what do you mean? We went on a date 2 weeks ago and we went for 6 hours. That should be enough to cover it. And how dare you think that I'm not caring for you and you're this and that? And they go on the defensive versus actually being empathetic, hearing the person out, going outside of themselves to see, okay, does this person have a legitimate gripe? What are they really expressing? And if I look from their perspective, how do they get to that perspective? And what things could I be doing better? And couples that are able to do that, they're able to recognize, okay, it's not all about me, it's about this person and what they're feeling and what they're saying. Those couples typically last longer because they're not always so defensive or ready to attack a person when they come at them with some expression or whatever. Instead, they're able to say, okay, you know what? This person clearly cares for me. They wouldn't come to me if they didn't care about me. And you know what? I could see from their end how this thing is affecting them. Let me look at this from their angle. just that alone, most women, that'll put you like 90% ahead of most other guys that are out there that just want to argue back as soon as they hear a thing from a woman, So that's number 8. Number 9 is remembering to be kind. And this kind of goes back to number 8 about being empathetic in the sense that remember that when you got with a woman, okay, you're with somebody that as you're building, you realize cares for you immensely. And when things arise that might cause little riff or whatever, you still need to come from a place of they ultimately love and care for you. So they're really not trying to be your enemy. If anything, they're trying to express things to you because they want to get things back on a good plane because ultimately they care for you. And so remember in your dealings with this other person, whether it's an argument or some simple like, there are so many couples out there that will constantly send sarcastic jabs back and forth at each other. And I don't like that. Like, I'll tell girls that I'm with, hey, you know what? I don't do sarcastic jabs. You will never hear me say to you, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're a weirdo, because I went through my 6th grade year of middle school. I was a new kid on the block, and I got teased the entire year, and it did not feel good. So from that, I've learned, you know what? Even if you're taking light jabs and the other person's not expressing that to hurt their feelings, nothing good comes from calling somebody a negative name or saying they're stupid or dumb or treating them as anything less than kind. Whether it's, you're taking over the remote control of the TV and you're not letting them watch their show, or you're doing stuff with the kids without them. Like, there's so many ways whereby men, by accident become unkind, and then they wonder why the woman's leaving them, and they're like, well, I was trying to listen. And they're not thinking back like, oh, I said this thing. Oh, I did this little stinger to her. Oh, I embarrassed her at a party. Oh, I yelled at her in front of our kids. Oh, this stuff. And so just remember, most women are going to try to be kind to you, and even if they're not, you need to check them on that, because I don't think women should be being unkind either. But for you specifically, guy, try to be mindful of the words you're saying before they come out of your mouth. Like, if you're in an argument with your woman, before you start to say, you're stupid, you're dumb, you don't get it, stop and think, is this going to make her feel good or bad? Is this going to be helpful to the argument? Is this going to allow us to get back to that kind place? Okay, no. So if I disagree, can I say that in a way that is still respecting her and being kind, but not calling her out of her name or being, mean to her? So, and again, it's a thing you got to concentrate on, but when you do, it pays dividends in terms of being able to keep your relationship long term. And then the 10th thing, and it's most important for introverts too, is being able to give each other space. And I say this because even though you might be an introvert, there are so many guys that when they get into a relationship, it's like they just want to spend all their time with that one person, to the point where if she tries to go anywhere or do anything with other people, or even just, spend time in her office by herself at her place, you want to be around. And you feel butthurt if you're not there, or you get jealous if she wants to hang with her other girlfriends, or has a longtime guy friend come out of town that wants to visit and say, hi, what's up, and catch her up over dinner or some stuff that she never dated. Like, you got to remember, as an introvert, you should understand space. You should understand somebody needing their alone time to be able to just get back to themselves, or just to be able to clear their thoughts, or just to do something without somebody there that's going to possibly judge them, And so couples that are able to do that are able to say, hey, you know what? You do what you got to do. I have an aunt and uncle. My uncle, he's now gone, but they were married for 40-something years, and he was an introvert. He would stay at home. They lived in Alabama. He would stay at home in Alabama and his wife, my aunt would travel to different states to visit her sisters or go on cruises or whatever, and he'd be like, go have a good time. He was never jealous of her going out by herself. He was always like, you know what? You need your space. I need my space. And when you get back, tell me the stories. And I feel like if more guys could be like that, then there'd be less guys that weren't able to keep women around long term, because just the fact that you trust her to go out like that, most women aren't going to try to betray your trust, except for when you start making it not their choice. Once you start being that guy that's like, hey, I don't want you going out, or you better not touch anybody, or you got this and that, the mind is going to automatically be like, they can't tell me what to do. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Just look at now with the mask situation. People are getting mad about wearing masks because the government's telling them, you should wear a mask. And now people are like, you can't tell me. And yet, if they hadn't said wear a mask, people would be like, why are we all getting sick? Why don't you all tell us to wear a mask? And they probably choose to wear it themselves. So it's this weird thing that the brain does, where we want to have the choice of free will. And when we don't get it, we want to fight against it. So to make sure that doesn't happen, be mindful that if she needs space, or needs to make a grocery run without you, or needs to go visit her sister without you, let that happen. You'll save yourself a lot of time and effort, and you'll get the alone time you want anyway, all right? So just to recap those 10 things, 10 things to better your chances. 1, good communication. Number 2, having self-control. Number 3, being able to reinvent yourself and the relationship. Number 4, keeping the sexual attraction and chemistry open. Number 5, being open to personal growth. Number 6, dedication to the relationship. Number 7, expressing gratitude and showing affection. Number 8, being empathetic to your partner's needs and wants. Number 9, remembering to be kind. And number 10, giving each other space without jealousy. So hopefully with doing these things will help you in your long-term relationships, and you'll be able to keep the person around long-term versus this guy who was very, very upset and mad that he could not keep the girl around long-term. Now that you've heard from me, I'd like to hear from you. What are some other keys to having a happy long-term relationship? If you're watching on YouTube, leave your comments below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Are you ready to learn killer icebreakers that attract women on dating apps? Go to introvertdatingsuccess.com right now to watch my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps Without Using Sleazy Pickup Lines. This will give you key secrets to sparking attraction and conversations with women online the smart way. If you like this video, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and click the bell icon to be notified about future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.